some nerd power. It's the Falcon Paladin Hour, a podcast by Falcon Paladin and Somicron. Falcon hates puns and thinks that they're all wrong. One's American and one is an Aussie, talking about StarCraft 2 and the esports scene.
Right. I pushed my button 25 seconds ago, exactly whenever I said 5 seconds. 25.
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
And I pushed my button 3 minutes and 18 seconds ago. So it's going to be good.
Yep.
There's a bunch of button pushers. How is that hard to say? Button pushers. Button pushers.
Button pushers. Really difficult, in fact.
Yeah.
So
Super difficult.
Yeah, we're recording this podcast when they announced the new co-op commander, Stedman.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't play co-op at all, so it's like, cool, I guess. That's fun. I guess that's what they were teasing on Twitter a couple days ago, so fine. Have they done that for other co-op commander? Do they tease that?
Yep.
Or is this like the first time they decided to do it? Oh, okay.
I've seen it before. So
Yeah.
they
All right.
pretty much
Yeah,
have
they
a
do.
process now.
Yeah.
I mean, they do have a serious problem where they need to release 2 co-op commanders at once because everyone wants to play the new one, and the model is you can play it up to level 5 for free. So everyone has access to the new guy. Everyone wants to play the new guy, but because you can't match 2 of the same commanders, nobody can find a match for 25 minutes.
And the queue time is insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to
So
level
they should
up,
just release 2 at once.
if you're trying to level up
Yeah.
like your other guy, it's a perfect time to play.
Oh, yeah. But I've maxed with everyone except for the new guy.
So there's...
But I can't find a game for the new guy.
I know. I think most of the serious co-op commander players are in your shoes. Like, they've maxed out everything. They're bored with everything. They want to play the new toy. And they release them frequently enough. They could just space them out a little bit more and have 2 at the same time. So at least you're having new guy versus new guy for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll talk to my contacts
gonna
at
happen.
Blizzard and see if I can make it happen.
Hey, I've met the guy who is in charge of all the co-op balance.
Ooh. That sounds like an incredibly hard job.
I think it's oddly enough. I've seen some Reddit posts and Reddit threads where people are just super into co-op, and they get really upset whenever one co-op commander is more OP than another.
No, I know. It bleeds over just to the StarCraft subreddit. People talk about co-op as something's really stupid broken. They hear about it, too.
Yeah, which is kind of weird because, like, this is so rude. But who cares? You know, like, I mean, if it's broken, I get it. But, like, you're playing, like, you know, like, how do you get upset? It's like, man, I hate it whenever I play with Stukov because it's just, like, he's just killing all the mobs. And I'm like, yeah, it's co-op. Like, shouldn't you be happy that your teammate's doing something?
People want a challenge.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
If the challenge is ultimately taken away from them, they don't get the gratifying experience of pretending to be good at StarCraft.
Right, that's why I play Zerg.
Yeah, but yeah.
Sorry, I had to throw that out there. Protoss just got too easy, so I was like, Terran was a joke, so I had to go and start playing Zerg.
Entirely fair. I am on board with that. That's why I've played Zerg since 1998, because they've been overpowered since then.
Yeah, well, hey, they were back then. As soon as Lurkers
In Brood
released,
War?
though, my god.
Lurkers were good. Lurkers are still pretty good.
Like, I had to learn how, like, I still think Brood War is so obnoxious when it comes to balance, like, and maybe obviously not at the highest tier, but, like, playing as a new player coming in and you're going against Zerg, who has, like, relatively quick, you know, you need detection for these units, and they have, like, their own, they start off with a detecting unit, like, versus Protoss, who has to go up like a 5-tier tree to get an observer out. It's just it's obnoxiously different, you know.
Yeah, totally is.
But I mean, you know way more about Brood War than me, but that's just my memory. And playing it recently, I was like, cool, I'm gonna DT rush this dude, and he's like, oh, why would you do that against Zerg? And I was like, oh, you literally have
fair point.
You literally can't. You can see everything right out the gate. Cool. Way to go.
See, but that's why
Blizzard.
you open Corsairs. You just go Stargate opening, you pump out Corsairs,
Right.
you kill all their overlords, and then you bring the DTs in.
Right, and that's what I learned. And they also work
Yeah.
amazing against Mutalisks. Like, it's just.
Oh, they destroy Mutas.
And
Yep.
so then I go charge lot DT, or well, leg DT, leg lot. Is that what they're called? Leg lots?
Speed lots? I don't know.
Yeah, speed lots sound good.
Something like that. Yeah, very good. But I mean, as you said, the game, both StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2 are balanced for the highest levels. Like us lobies, they're never going to care about what we think about the balance. Zerg could be winning 80% of the games in like the lowest tier of Brood War, and Blizzard would be like, figure it out.
Right.
I think so. Anyway, have we ever seen that? Ever seen the balance be that bad for the win-loss ratio for any particular race?
I think
Not that.
for
never that bad.
a minute, PVT was absolutely just beyond broken. Where it was like literally people, it was fixed relatively quickly. Like whenever they took away the mothership core at first, it was just PVT was just stupid broken because they.
And there was the time the 5-Rax Reaper was unstoppable for Zerg.
Yeah.
Like, they could not do anything about it, and that got patched real fast.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess there are times it's been super crazy imbalanced. But that's been at the highest levels. Like, I'm talking about, is there a time where it's been balanced at the GM, pro level, but for some reason everybody in Diamond is just dying to the same thing over and over again?
Rushing battle cruisers and the shield battery cannon rush.
I would love to see the numbers for Battlecruiser Rush versus Zerg at like Diamond 3.
God, I know that I've beaten it once. Still.
It's hard.
But
Summerkin and I die to that a lot when we play Archon
it's
mode.
just dumb. I don't want to say it's broken, but it isn't, because obviously people know how to beat it and quite handedly. Cyril seemed to not really struggle against it that much.
He's just the best Zerg player
Right.
on planet Earth. But yeah, he doesn't struggle.
Yeah, he doesn't exactly fall within the bell curve for what does people struggle with.
But that's what,
Right.
whenever balance is created, that these are the people they're looking at. It's not made for us. It's made for them.
But even I was watching some GSL, and Ragnarok handled the Battlecruiser Rush from TY really easily and just won the game. So, yeah, I mean, if that's happening, Ragnarok could beat TY in that situation, then obviously it's not so overpowered the pros are struggling
Yeah,
with
but
it.
I mean, like, their logic is they're like, oh, it's so stupid easy. All you have to do is make sure that you already have an infestation pit by the time it pops. Have neural parasite researching at least by the time the first battle series comes out. Get started on your spore farm, so you can just neural parasite them and warp them into the spore crawler farm. That's so easy. You guys are so dumb. Like that's their
No, who
explanation.
says that? That's not how you handle it at all.
That's
You get
almost
the
exactly
queens.
what Cyril did.
Well, okay, he's insane. But all Ragnarok had to do was have like 5 or 6 queens out when the first battlecruiser shows up, and that's enough. 5 or 6 queens will chase the battlecruiser away. You got to pull drones, so you're not getting roasted the whole time. You have a couple spores, and then from there you're pretty much okay.
Yeah.
But hard to do. It's hard to have that many queens out at that time in the game. I totally understand that. But
Yeah.
seriously, Cyril had Neural Parasite out when the first battlecruiser showed up?
No, not by the time the first one did. I'm exaggerating.
Oh,
I'm talking.
okay.
I'm
I was like, that's insane.
I'm it was pretending that I was a professional player rolling their eyes at it. It's like all you have to do is like this absurd line of things that you have to anticipate and predict. And like, man, I have researched neural parasite never on ladder. The only time I ever have infestors is because you know how like you always have that accidental swarm host or that accidental infestor in your army if you're macroing and it's in panic mode. I have one of those, and people will watch my replays and they're like, "Oh shit, he's getting infestors," and I'm like, "Am I?" Oh, I guess I did build an infestor. That guy got F2'd into the army,
Yeah, it's infestors used to be really good. Back when fungal rooted, super good.
Broke it.
But ever since they threw that nerf at it, where it's a projectile and you can miss with it, and it only slows stuff. Yeah, infestors are not as necessary to learn anymore, and I probably should still learn them. I think I'm in the same boat as you, but
yeah, they're still fungals are, especially playing against bio. They're extremely necessary if you want to have a really good game. But I just, or even against mutas and stuff, you can land a fungal on a cloud of mutas. Oh, and then you come in and then get the not blinding cloud, the other Viper move. The
parasitic bomb.
Yeah, that's the one. So I'm a Zerg main. You do that one. Like that's so sexy when people do that.
Yeah, parasitic bomb's really good against, especially stuff that stacks, like Void Rays if they're stacked up, or Phoenix if they're stacked up. Pretty fantastic.
Carriers, they're pretty good against carriers.
Yeah. Is it?
People prefer
Parasitic bomb kind of tickles them.
Yeah, well, it's good for the interceptors.
Oh yeah, okay.
But it's better to just yoink one at a time, or like 1 or 2 out, and then have your corruptors kill them at a distance. Like that's really, you would save your energy for that, I think.
Yeah. Agreed.
Take it from us professionals,
Anyway,
folks.
nobody clicked on this to hear StarCraft. They want to hear Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Actually, I'm just kidding. A lot of people listen to this for StarCraft. So, but what we're going to do first here is number one, Samacron, did you watch the episode?
I have.
Oh no, you ruined our game. We were going to play the game where you just like glimpse plot points from Twitter and try to figure out what happened. Aw. All right. Well, for once, you watched an episode as it aired. So I guess it was the last one.
No, not as it aired. After I glimpsed everything from Twitter, I then watched the episode because it didn't come out for like a day or two later.
Oh, so
And it's still the only episode I've seen in the last 3 seasons. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say, seriously. That's funny. All right. Well, well, there goes that game. Anyway, I guess we'll talk about stuff. Overall, having watched your first episode in years, how did you feel the series finale went, Samacron?
Out of context, it actually is pretty good.
Okay.
Right? Because when you're just like, okay, I've been told what's like I've kind of like caught glimpses of everything that's happened, and it's like, oh, Danny's burning the city. Everything feels pretty good. There's like 2 or 3 things that it's like, whatever. But I imagine with the full context of everything that's been going on, people are not happy, and I can understand that.
So I'm curious, what things did you see that you felt like you didn't have the context for? You're like, why is this going on? What is this?
No, not that it like it didn't make sense.
Oh.
Just like I didn't care about it, or it seemed silly. Like Arya wanting to go to the west of Westeros. It's like, why does she want to explore? I get she's up for adventure, but why discovering new lands?
Well, because there was this one time back in like season 3 where she was talking with Melisandre and she was like, I want to see the world. And that was it. Like they have not talked about it once ever since. She's all been about revenge and things. But I guess now that she's not about revenge anymore, it's just going to be Christopher Columbus Arya moving out to discover the new world.
Arya the
But her
Explorer.
brother literally sees everything. Like,
Yeah.
why not just ask him, hey, what's west of Westeros?
Well,
Like, it's Essos.
because having the omniscient character in your show breaks your show, so he can't actually be functionally omniscient.
So he's not fully omniscient, though. He his power comes from the weirwood trees. So if there are weirwood trees west of Westeros, he would be able to go and see the history and everything that's happened in the general vicinity of a weirwood. He can see it. Or if he can, just warg into an animal and fly all that distance, which I don't think a seagull or anything like that can travel that far. I guess it's possible, but I don't know. Assuming it's actually if this takes place in Europe, which is what it's all based off of, and they fly over to America, I don't know if a bird can actually make that journey. Maybe they can. That'd be a long
Depends
time.
on the bird, I suppose.
That'd be a long time for a king to just be white balling it, or white eyeing it, white eyeballing it.
White eyeballing it.
White balling sounds
Right.
really, really inappropriate.
So hang on, he had a vision of the dragon flying over King's Landing back a couple seasons ago. Does that mean there are weirwood trees in King's Landing?
There's every major city in Westeros has a what's it called?
A God's Grove.
Yeah. Because that's where Sansa went, and that's where her the knight guy that was like the drunken knight who came to save her. That's where they would meet, because it was the only place she could be alone, because people didn't care that she went there, and nobody went there because nobody worships the old gods. So she went there, and it was like excusable, because even though she actually worshipped the Seven, her father worshipped the old gods. So people were like, nobody thought it was weird that she would go there. So that's where she went and did her scheming, was in the Godswood.
Okay, here's the thing. How come Bran can see the future then?
He can't.
But he knew he was going to be king. He's like, why do you think I came all this way?
He had the vision of the dragon flying over King's Landing.
guess-
He can absolutely see something of the future.
I guess I feel like this was addressed in one of the episodes, and I'm probably wrong, and somebody can at me later in Discord or something. But I feel like it was one of the same kind of thing as what's her name seeing the shit in the fire, Melisandre. Is that her name?
Melisandre? Yeah. Melisandre.
Yeah, Melisandre. Melisandre is the she was Grey Worm's side chick or whatever, for right hand lady. But I feel like it's very similar. It's like, yeah, we get these images, and it's not necessarily the future, but it's like, I don't know, premonition in this sort of sense. So maybe he can. I don't remember him seeing anything in the future though.
We just gave you examples.
Right, but I just don't remember that.
I mean, there's not a lot of it. He doesn't do a lot, okay? Let's be real. Ever since he became the Three-Eyed Raven, he has not done very much by way of prophecy or helping people out or us seeing what, like, he's seeing. He just kind of sits in a chair and is cryptic all the time, which is mostly why I'm upset that he's the king, is because he honestly sucks. He's, like, by far the worst character on the show as it ended.
Yeah, I think he was the most underutilized for sure.
Well, it's because if you have somebody who has access to all this knowledge, it's hard to make them relatable and not just be turned into a giant like encyclopedia. And I get that, but I guess they tried to mitigate it by having him do almost nothing. I'm serious. What did he do for anybody to help them in any way that we saw? I guess the last thing I could think of is he gave the Valyrian steel dagger to Arya before the Battle of Winterfell, which she used to kill the Night King, which could be possibly construed as he knew that she would need it to kill the Night King and helped it along.
Yeah.
But ever since then,
he could also
like he
arguably,
some birds.
Oh my God, what if? And this is a stupid theory, but it kind of makes it more interesting. Bran isn't necessarily a good guy. He actually knew that telling Jon that he was a Targaryen would set Dany into that jealous rage. And because that's totally what really set her off, was knowing that Jon was a Targaryen and that whole thing. That absolutely was the tipping point. And so he's really Bran's the one who pushed her to the edge, because like, even though Sam is the one who told him, Bran's the one who really confirmed it, I think, right? But or did they tell him together? I don't remember.
No. Remember, Bran sent Sam to tell Jon.
But it was
Bran
still
was like,
but Bran was
Winterfell
like,
isn't ADA compliant, and I can't get down those stairs.
Right.
Seriously, that's what it was. He's like, I've been up here waiting for you to wander by so I can tell you to go into the crypts and talk to Jon about it, because I can't get down there because I'm in a wheelchair.
Yeah. And he doesn't have a Hodor anymore.
No.
But what if he had a premonition that he knew that the only way Dany would not become the queen is if Jon killed her, and the only way Jon would ever kill her is if she did something like kill an entire city of people?
Yeah, no, this is definitely a theory that I've seen, is that Bran just basically set it up to where he was the king. Everything that happened so that he would be in charge of Westeros. And all the people in King's Landing had to die. All the people at Winterfell had to die. Dany had to get assassinated, and he set all of those things into motion to bring it to the point where he is in charge, because he's evil. So yeah, I've seen that theory a couple times.
That makes it kind of cooler, in my opinion.
It is cooler. I wish they would give it to us. Give us anything about what
shouldn't.
motivates Bran.
This makes it better for us to piece it. That means it was. I mean, as bad of writing as the dialogue was, the plot itself was good. The plot was. If they stretched it out over 2 more seasons, it would have been great.
Yes, but Benioff and Weiss had no interest in doing that. They're like, 6 episodes, 2 seasons, good enough.
Yeah, God, what a bunch of douchebags.
Good. I kind of hate those guys. But seriously, so Bran goes from I don't really want anything and saying stuff like I'm not Bran Stark, I'm the Three-Eyed Raven, to like, yeah, I'm Bran and I want to be king. Awesome, let's do this. It makes no sense at all unless he's been playing the long con.
Chaos is a wheelchair ramp. What can you say?
And if he's playing the long con, can he like wink at the camera as we end the series? Like, hey guys, I got it.
But isn't that what him saying? Like, why do you think I traveled all this way? Like, isn't that what that was?
He at the end still says he doesn't want to be king, but maybe he's because he can see the future or some shit. He knows that it's necessary for like the good of Westeros or something. Like, I don't know. like I said, I haven't seen like the last couple seasons, so I don't know if being the Three-Eyed Raven is an inherently good position or bad position. I don't know where it falls on an alignment chart. But,
well, I don't know. I mean,
even after he's been appointed king and he's like naming his hand, and Tyrion's like, I don't want it. And he's like, I don't want to be king.
Yeah. I mean, the previous Three-Eyed Raven lived in a tree north of the wall for years and years and years and years. And like, as far as I can tell, nobody knew he actually really existed. never helped anybody with anything. Apparently, what he's capable of doing, this is theorized. I don't think he ever came out and said this, but he's able to work back in time and make sure that events that happen the way they're supposed to, so that the timeline stays pure and stays where it's supposed to go, and that there are forces actively trying to change that. I don't know. They never got there. Basically, all of the magic in the show disappeared once they ran out of books. Benioff and Weiss were like, we're not comfortable with the magic. It doesn't matter anymore. And it went away. But there's all these little dangling threads of time travel and warging and stuff that just we never saw again.
Or whatever it was that the Night King was trying to talk to, like leaving messages for and like spiraling body parts that set on fire.
Yeah, that stuff. Yeah. Like there's little indications that magic kind of exists, but not really. Like there's a whole prophecy of Azor Ahai. Like Melisandre basically lived her entire life believing in the prince that was promised. Azor Ahai would come and save everybody, but like the series is over and nobody really fits that prophecy, and maybe it didn't matter.
And that could also kind of be the super Game of Thrones where they're like, hey, we're working towards a story arc, then all of a sudden, they're dead. But how that still could fit Jon. That could technically still kind of fit Dany in a lot of ways. Because what
does it fit Jon?
Well, I mean, I haven't done the math for it yet, but I think I've seen some debates on how it still does. I mean, he was never a king. He was technically still a prince, right?
Right. Well, yes. Nobody crowned him king.
Yeah.
No. Well, he was king of the North for like 15 minutes. So.
Oh yeah, no, that's
there
true.
was that. They crowned him king of the North. He went south and pledged his fealty to Dany and lost it. So. But I don't know. I mean, it's just the prince who was promised. The legend goes that he sought out a way to destroy the Night King, or like destroy the enemy. And he traveled and traveled with a bunch of partners and stuff, and everybody died, and his dog died, and his sword broke. And then at the end of it, he had to like kill his wife. And the sword that he plunged into her and pulled out was on fire, and then he was able to defeat the great evil. So I mean, none of this. I don't know. Jon didn't defeat any great evil. He almost got eaten by a dragon.
Right.
And Dany didn't either. Like, it was Arya. Arya took down the Night King, so I guess she's the princess who was promised. But, like, it never comes up. Nobody ever talks about it again. Even though Melisandre never talked about it.
You said his dog died? Didn't Arya's direwolf die?
No, Nymeria is alive. Nymeria and Ghost are the only two that are still alive.
Yeah.
Nymeria is out running around in the Riverlands doing absolutely jack all.
Just like Arya.
Yeah, just like Arya. I mean, I just saw a big list of, like, these are the huge themes that were introduced in Game of Thrones and meant absolutely nothing when all was said and done. Like, the pilot is, here are these direwolves. They're incredibly important to you Stark kids, and most of them die without accomplishing anything.
Yeah,
And
well, that happens a lot to people.
I know, but it's just... I don't know. I mean, yes, maybe as you say and as Duttles says, maybe that's the Game of Thrones story, is we set things up and then they don't do anything. But I kind of feel like that's just crap storytelling. It's a story. It isn't real life. It's supposed to have some kind of significance in some of the stuff that you do, but maybe not.
Maybe that's what makes it the most realistic story of them all. It's like real life where some things just don't matter.
It's just utter disappointment, the novelization.
Yeah, why not?
Maybe so. I mean, I was honestly rooting for a nihilist ending where the Night King just wins and everybody dies and it's just winter for all eternity in Westeros. I'd be more okay with that than like all the stuff you were counting on meaning anything just doesn't mean anything. But I guess that's even more nihilist than my interpretation of what that would be.
I did see a tinfoil hat explanation where it's because the writers have been hired by Disney. Disney gave them a little signing bonus to ruin the last season so that people would go into those Disney movies with low expectations, which would make them seem better than they are later.
So that's beyond tinfoil hat, right?
Yeah, I also like the other theory that Martin has the books written and he just waited until the series bombed out without his help so that people would be like, oh my gosh, there's books. They have to be better than the show. And he just sells 8 billion copies of them.
Yeah.
I like that one, but there's no way that one's true. Like, I heard that one and I was like, there is a 0% chance Martin has these books written and he's been holding on to them for like 6 years. There's no way. And it's true. He didn't release anything. Still hasn't.
I mean, give him a minute. It's been like a couple days. It's been like 2 days. Give him a minute.
Do we need to make a bet on this? There is no way he releases a book in 2019. Zero.
No, not at all. There's no way.
Because endings are hard. So here's the thing.
Well, but this isn't even the last book. This is like
No,
season.
that's what I'm saying.
This is
There's
like
two left.
season 5 that he'd be coming out with. You know.
It's yeah, I think it's 2. I think he had 2 books to go, and we're still waiting for the second to last.
Yeah, maybe 2 or.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be 8 books total, and he's only
No,
come out with 5.
I don't know.
Song of Ice and Fire to the internet tweet.
All I know is that
Everyone's favorite part
it
of
was
the
supposed to
podcast.
come out in 2015.
Every time someone says A Song of Ice and Fire, I think of Todoroki.
Yeah, I like it. Should be about
Yeah.
him. He'd be a pretty interesting story.
There are 2 more books forthcoming, according to Wikipedia. The
Yeah.
Winds of Winter and Dream of Spring.
So books 6 and book 7 are
Yeah.
upcoming. Book 5 was released, A Dance with Dragons, back in 2011. Holy cannoli. So here's the problem. He initially was pitching this story to television networks and saying, I want to put this story on TV. And everybody was like, it's too big, it's too sprawly, there's too many characters, there's too much to keep track of. This is too big for TV. So he's like, you know where it's not too big? Books. I don't have to have a production budget at all. I'm going to write books here. And then it gets adapted to the television, and it's like too big to adequately cover and resolve. And it might be even too big for him to cover and resolve within the books. So,
Right. I read an article about
Amazing.
writing in general, and it was kind of addressing the complaints about the writing of this season. And it's like, here is why. It's like a very objective look at it. Like, hey, I'm not saying it was good or bad. I'm just saying why it's different. Because the way that George R.R. Martin writes is very sociological, very psychological as well. He does not actually have a plan of how these things are ending. He takes a story, he just does character development, you know. And then he's like playing D&D with these fuckers. And he puts them in situations, and then he puts himself in every single individual's shoes and thinks, what would I do in this situation? And writes from there. And that's why it's phenomenal storytelling. The issue is this keeps on adding these little, side quests, I guess is the best way to call it. Just constant side questing. And it gets this gigantic spider web, and it gets out of control, and he has so much trouble maintaining it. He had to rewrite Dance of Dragons and the one before it, like Clash of Kings, I think. Is that the second one? I don't know. Whatever. The 4th and 5th book, he had to rewrite like 4 or 5 times. They're supposed to just be one book. And it was supposed to happen 5 years after the 3rd book, but he couldn't. The continuity just didn't work. There were so many things that he thought it would be cool if he left unsaid, but he just had to tie these pieces together. He couldn't do it. And so that's why those books took so long to release, is because he had to rewrite them like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, he's got a dude who just keeps track of lore continuity for him. His job is to be like, where is this person currently in the story? What have they done? How will this be affected if this other person does this thing?
That's awesome.
And even with that, it's so hard because you're right. It just adds complexity upon complexity over and over again.
And that's how the writers for the show took it as well, because they were trying to imitate the book. And so a lot of people are saying, oh, it's because they don't have the George R.R. material anymore. No, but he was still a consultant. He didn't write it, but I guarantee you he signed off on that a lot of the stuff. But the reason it changed is because after season 6 ended, they said, okay, we need to, like, this is getting out of control. We're never going, there's no end in sight. We need to end it. So I'm giving you guys, 14 more episodes. Make it happen. And so they split that in 2 seasons. And so that's whenever they started writing, instead of writing just letting the characters live their lives and writing it that way, they started writing toward an objective. And so it was just an obvious major shift in like the way the show felt. And
yes.
God, and also I sent something in here. The fucking Daenerys thing where she with the wings behind her.
Wings.
How stupid was that? I'm
so very on the nose.
Oh my
Incredibly
God.
on the nose.
And what's so weird on the internet, I'm seeing, like, I see these bloggers who are like really criticizing. They're like, the one thing I really liked was the symbolism whenever Dany had the wings come out behind her. I was like, that was the most cliche, campy, cheesy bullshit I've seen in my entire life. That was just like, both my wife and I were watching it, and we just went, ah. It was just, and we were really, and it was a great episode so far. I was like, oh yeah, this is gritty, this is dark. I'm into it. This is a total, like, I'm trying to be open-minded here, and I'm not just trying to look for negativity like literally everybody else who watched season 8. I was trying to enjoy the damn show. Then they threw that at me, and I was like, come on. God, that's so lame. Somebody's getting that tattooed on them too. You know what? You know they're gonna get the wings. They're like, I want Drogon's wings.
Well, yes, because there are 8 billion people in the world, and somebody has everything tattooed on their bodies somewhere, somehow, somewhere.
I want to meet.
It's like Rule 34 for tattoos.
I want to meet the guy
If
who
it
has
exists, there's
who
a
the hell
tattoo of
Duttles
it.
tattooed on him.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've actually got that.
Oh, nice.
there you go. This is what I'm talking about.
Just right on. It's like it's who the hell is on my left calf, then is Duttles is on my right calf.
I buy it. Anyway, I don't know. So here's what I heard, though. Here's what I heard is that, yes, Martin is very much a put your characters in situations and they do what they do because they're living, breathing characters, and then we just follow it from there. But it gets so hard to do the more complex the story goes.
Mm-hmm.
But then it just kind of felt like the Benioff and Weiss guys, they had plot points they had to get to. And so they didn't have the ability to be like, this is what this character would do in this situation. I have to get them to this plot point. I'm not entirely sure how. And that's why characters do stuff that doesn't make any sense. Is because they're working towards plot points. They're not working towards following the characters to the logical conclusion of the situations that they're in. And that was the problem, right? It's like, really? Daenerys just chose to burn King's Landing? Was there a plot point that she had to burn King's Landing? And you didn't know how to get her character to the point where she would do that, and that's why it feels weird? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what happened. There's too much. They had all this time wherein they could make Daenerys be suddenly down with murdering women and children, and they never got there. There are steps you have to take. And sure, maybe she just went nuts, and maybe she lost her mind coincidentally at this moment where she has a dragon hovering over King's Landing, and now she's down with the wholesale murder of children. But I never saw her get there in a logical manner. If you just want to say she went crazy, fine, she's crazy. But that's lazy storytelling, I think.
I think you're not taking into account that she's a product of 2 generations of incest, and it's a lower threshold for crazy at that level.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And if you want to say it's her blood manifesting and her Targaryen spirit was finally like burn them all, okay, great. But it doesn't make any logical sense, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like her dad didn't get to burn them all until he was like 78. That's all.
No. I watched a Targaryen house history video the other day. Her dad died at like the age of 40. He just looked way older.
Aegon? Really?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah,
so in the
apparently.
books, whenever they say it's like this is an old man, he has like white hair, he's at the end of his days, he's like 42. You know, like that's old as shit. Because I mean, like think of this is the Dark Ages. It ruled like this right before the Renaissance, right? Is around when this
Yeah.
stuff is based. He was old as shit as 42.
He was a king. He was born a king. He did not live his life shoveling crap out of the stalls.
No, but he sat on
he had
a
every level of pampering that anyone has ever had.
But the guy was like he had like mental disorders. He was like schizophrenic, paranoia, whatever. I don't know, paranoid
Yeah,
schizophrenic.
he spent a year in a prison cell after like some nearby city, like
Yeah.
was mad at King's Landing, right? He came out of that rough. He refused to like see anyone. No one was allowed near him with blades except for his guards. So his hair never got cut and his nails never did either. The
Yes.
dude, you know, he basically shrugged off the pampering at some point.
Yeah, and also I mean the Targaryens weren't necessarily known for being very pampering people. Yeah, but yeah, that's a good point. I mean, he was definitely imprisoned. By actually what's weird is that the Florian, the drunk knight who saved Sansa and then got killed by Littlefinger, that he was actually his family, although he was related to, but he wasn't part of the main line. I guess people say like the lowborn side of the family. He was part of the lowborn side, but it was his family name as the people who owned the town or were the lords of the town that actually like led that rebellion and captured the king, and then Salmi Barristan came and rescued him, and that was like his first major noble. Like that's what made him so legendary.
It was Salmi and Tywin, because Tywin after a year or something was basically like about to lead the charge into just like we're just gonna overthrow the city and get the king out.
And Salmi was like, no, I can save him without destroying the city, right?
Yeah, I can sneak in and get him out. But then the Mad King found out that Tywin was going to invade the city, which like the first thing they normally do when a city gets invaded is kill the prisoners, right? As like a final fuck you. And that that just like boosted his paranoia because he was always like mad, jealous, and angry at Tywin for being like his hand of the king, and like, oh, everyone loves him but hates me, and then the king would always just do the opposite of what Tywin wanted. It's like, oh, you were gonna put my life in danger, you prick. And I think that was why, or one of the reasons he ended up naming Jaime as the Kingsguard, was to like screw Tywin in knowing that his favored son would never get to take land and be a lord of Casterly Rock.
And have kids and keep the line going. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, fine. So maybe he wasn't 80. Anyway, the point is, Daenerys is young. For her to just be like break insane at how old do you think she is? Like 22?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, just stupid. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
Here is, okay, I have the birth dates and death dates. 2044 AC and died 2083.
Do the maths. Go.
That's 39 years old.
Wow, it's even younger than 40. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so my point takes a hit a little bit there, but what other stuff? What other stuff is there? I don't know.
So I'm just looking through Game of Thrones stuff, and by that I mean literally anything on Facebook right now. But I just saw somebody posted this thing like, so am I tripping, or would it have been 10 times better if Jon demanded trial by combat and fought Grey Worm for his freedom? How fucking awesome would that have been?
That's the thing. Everybody has better ideas of what should have happened after watching the episode and thinking about it for 10 minutes. That's why people are upset.
Yeah, that would have been really cool.
Like, what part of the story does Jon murder Daenerys and he comes out and Grey Worm's like, so how are things? And he's like, yeah, everything's fine in there with Daenerys. I'm just gonna leave now. And Grey Worm's not like incredibly suspicious about this and doesn't just off him right there.
Well, what's weird is that the Unsullied captured him when they already proved to be completely ruthless. They would have just fucking killed him on sight.
Well, they're executing Lannisters in the streets because Daenerys told them to. What would they do to the person that they basically consider their god?
Right.
Or the person who killed the person they consider to be their god? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. There's a million different things in here that could have been better if you just think about it for 10 seconds.
Like, the end result I'm okay with. Even Bran being king, I'm okay with it. I just don't like the major gap, like the entire episode, at least one episode that was missing. Like, Dany dying should have been the end of the episode, and there should have been a 7th episode of just what the fuck happened next. Instead of just, like, skipping, like, 2 months later, you know, like, hey.
2 weeks later.
Yeah.
Well, and without even really giving you the sense that time has passed.
Right.
They're like,
well,
well,
they just gave everybody a beard.
Tyrion's beard was longer.
Yeah, they just gave everybody. They just gave everybody a longer
Beard
beard.
time.
They're like, look, this guy's obviously been sitting. And that one thing to credit. I mean, obviously, I don't think anybody's complaining about this, but man, they are really good at that kind of stuff. Tyrion and Jon looked like shit at the end of that stuff because they looked like they'd been sitting in prison for 5 months. That was pretty cool. And then the contrast of how good all the High Lords looked and stuff, and it's all pampered, and they're like war because they're living in peacetime versus Jon and Tyrion who were still stuck and not in peacetime. That was a cool contrast.
Yeah,
I'm cherry picking trying to find the good stuff, guys.
I know there's plenty of good stuff. The acting is insane. Like, it's insanely good. Everybody is doing the best with the writing that they have. I have no complaints about anybody's ability to portray their character on the screen. That's beautiful. The set pieces are gorgeous. The CGI is incredible. That scene where Drogon's under that pile of snow and just like rises up and shakes himself off, that was incredible.
not snow. Technically, that would be ash.
Sorry, ash. You're right. It is ash. But yeah, amazing stuff. So good. Like, so many people work their butts off here, and it's just like the writing can't keep up, and it's just disappointing. That's all. It makes me sad.
Great show. Can't wait for the prequels. It's gonna be fun.
Prequels will be good. It's gonna have a Hobbit to Lord of the Rings feel. Lord of the Rings movies super good. Hobbit movies not bad.
Bad.
Like,
Bad.
okay, they're bad, but they weren't. Like, if the Lord of the Rings didn't exist, I probably would have enjoyed them a lot more.
Sure.
I don't know, man. There's anybody asking for a love triangle between
Elves
an
and
elf,
dwarves.
a hobbit, and a freaking dwarf?
No.
Anybody? No. Nobody was like, this is my favorite thing. Okay, there is somebody that
Actually,
writes
no,
that
yeah.
kind of,
Rule 50 for
writes
this
their
time,
own
right?
/ fiction porn. So yes, those people. But everybody else was like, no, we're good without this. We don't need that.
Yeah. Have you seen Overwatch comics? They wanted it.
I love that aspect of Overwatch, and I love that their reaction to being told that, hey, every one of your characters is in tons of porn on the internet was, we're going to make a hamster character. Have fun with that, Reddit.
Yeah, and guess what?
They had fun with it.
Yeah. But what I love is
can't win.
that they're one of the people who they came out that like Soldier 76 was gay, and
Yeah.
everybody was so like people. Why do people get so upset about this? Why does it matter?
Well,
there's no
they're
plot
either
to this
upset
story.
or they're like over the moon excited about it. Like there's a lot of emotion around it.
Right, but I think the people who are over the moon excited about it, good for them. They're happy. Who cares? The people who are upset about it, it's like, why does it matter? In Apex Legends, one of the main, like the original heroes, was everybody thought it was a man voiced by a woman who's actually a trans woman, and then the
Wow,
character
a
is
lot of layers
trans, and everybody,
Yeah.
and everybody's really upset about it. I don't. Did you guys already talk about this in another podcast or something? I don't know.
We have never talked about Overwatch once, I don't think, except when they got the hamster. We did talk about that.
Okay. But anyway, I had friends who were like, "Why this is so dumb? It's so fucking unnecessary." Pardon my French. Like, what? This is so ridiculous. And I'm like, this does not affect your life at all or the gameplay. There's no plot to this game. There's zero plot to this game. It does not affect your gameplay experience at all. If all of a sudden this character is gay, trans, an alien, not an alien, like that, none of that affects it. It's like, oh cool, I like this person's guns. That affects the gameplay,
Well, maybe that's it, right? There is no story. Why does it matter who this character wants to have sex with? I don't care.
Right. They're
Why are you
they're
telling
just
me about
appealing
this?
to the fact they like in Overwatch it makes a lot of sense because they have the big fan fiction things. They're like, everybody's made this character gay. Do you know what? We're just gonna give it to you guys. Sure, he's gay. And that crowd's like, yay! And then there's like 15 dudes on Reddit who are like, this is bullshit. Like, what? It doesn't matter.
Well, that's it. I mean, I don't know. Sure, there's always going to be people who are upset that the minority gets representation in things. We're never getting rid of it.
Right.
I just don't see much reason to get worked up about them getting worked up. Is my personal opinion on it.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I couldn't care which way a character wants to do it and with what, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But the reason why it matters to some people, there's always going to be someone who it matters the opposite way, right? Like, there's going to be the people who love that stereotype of I'm an old, grizzled, veteran military dude, and they just don't see them, they see themselves as, role-playing that character when they play 76, but they don't see themselves as gay, and that's suddenly a problem for some reason.
Yeah,
because
I
they
can
no
totally
longer
see that too.
identify as much with that character. It's the same reason in reverse when people from the LGBTQ alphabet community get together and be like, well, fucking what's her name? Tracer's gay. Isn't that great? Look, we have representation. They all feel empowered and great because of it, because they can relate to that character more. And it's the opposite for those people that are getting mad when Soldier 76 is gay, because they're like, oh, now I don't relate to this character.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
They're like, man,
there's
if
a
only,
character
God,
that
now there's no straight male characters I can relate to anymore. These guys don't exist in video games. We're underrepresented.
Well, no, it's not a matter of being underrepresented.
I know,
It's a matter of being represented in the game you play, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Right. I mean, I don't know. This is just my white maleness talking, but I don't feel represented by anybody at all in any kind of popular culture.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel the need to be represented. Because, like Duttles said, there's enough of it out there that it doesn't matter.
I think the reason is because you're
much of it.
oversaturatedly represented, right?
Yeah.
To where it beyond doesn't matter.
Whereas if John Wick was the only white male protagonist of any movie I'd seen in the last 5 years, I'd be like, John Wick is my guy.
Right.
I mean, he is my guy. But he'd be more my guy.
Man.
Yeah.
John Wick 3.
Did you see the
I
new
did.
John Wick?
Sure did.
Yeah.
Did you?
I did not.
Duttles? Duttles!
Oh, Duttles.
Look,
down.
I have my kid has pneumonia. I don't have time to go see movies right now.
Jeez.
Does your kid sleep?
Yeah, pretty well. But I don't.
Okay,
but
well,
like
that's movie time, Duttles.
yeah. But then I also sleep.
Well, see, here's the thing. There are things you can sacrifice sleep for, and I put John Wick 3 on that list.
Yeah.
I went and saw it at 10 at night because I was like, I gotta see John Wick 3.
I watched Endgame twice in theaters, so I feel you.
Yeah, see, that's pretty good too.
I also put off sleep for John Wick. In retrospect, I probably wouldn't have if I hadn't.
Interesting. You didn't have
Like, I enjoyed the movie. I just don't think it was putting off sleep worthy.
Were you surprised it wasn't putting off sleep-worthy, or were you like, this is what I expected, I shouldn't have made that decision, what was I thinking?
I don't know. Coming out of it, I felt tired by all the action. Right, like
Well,
I
that's
felt
fair.
physically exhausted, like watching someone go through that much physical activity.
That is the first worldest thing of all time. I watched a fictional character on a huge screen make go through a ton of physical activity, and I'm tired now.
Right.
That's amazing.
I can relate to
just
that though.
There was never a break for my eyes to be like, okay, I don't need to be paying hyper-specific attention to something because I want to see all of that and I don't want to miss it, and I want to be like, okay, that was cool.
There are totally conversations where nobody dies in that film.
Right,
Multiple.
But the action lasts for like 20 minutes in a row.
There are the
And I'm just
longest
like,
action set pieces of all time, yes.
I'm so
it's-
excited to see it.
You should.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good movie.
I mean, the
enjoyed it.
first two were phenomenal.
Super good. I think the third is as good. I don't think it's better, but I think it's as good.
I mean, the first one, you can't beat the first one.
No. You can't.
don't
I think the first
know.
one's probably the best of them. Yeah.
In what way?
I think it was because it was a new thing. It was the first time to see Keanu Reeves be that gritty, and that, like, I mean, he's always been kind of badass, but it's always been very CGI. And this one, it was like he was just so it was just so believable. You know, I think that's what I love the most about the first two, is that he really did that shit. Like, that's like those shots he would have made those shots that he made. He would have killed the people with the pencil. Like, it was really, 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 really well done, and just felt real, despite it being so like impossible odds the whole time.
Super, super impossible odds.
Right,
You don't think it ever crossed over the line of like, there's no way he survived this? What the crap?
Yeah, but I mean, and things happen. Like, he's not like being thrown out of like 8-story high buildings, and like having a bomb go off. I mean, he gets shot and stuff, but like they're not lethal. It's like, and I feel like he looks like he's exhausted as he would be throughout all of it. You know, it's
just if one person's in a gun battle with 5 people, the one person survives that about 0% of the time in real life.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Okay.
that's true.
I just think that's the thing. That's the thing. Is like there are times too I catch in these films where like somebody with a gun is behind John Wick, and instead of shooting, they like come up real close to him and let him grab their arm and throw him around.
Right.
It's like, hold on a second. I couldn't see you when you were back there, but there was a time you were standing behind him a good distance away, and you could have shot him in the head, and you chose to close within grapple range instead. What is happening?
Right.
So there's definitely some of that going on.
Yeah, and that's I'm sure that's true, but like, I mean, I guess the realism of just how he is, not necessarily how the odds really behave. So maybe I should edit my previous opinion on it, but okay. So to relate it to something, did you guys watch the Netflix Daredevil series at all?
I've
I
seen
did.
season 1 and some of season 2, and then Foggy got really on my nerves, and I left.
Yeah, it gets a little rough. All the Netflix Marvel stuff got pretty rough, but because this is kind of like the opposite of the other of Game of Thrones, where it's like it's the acting is what's bad here. The writing's pretty good, but the acting real bad. But the actor who plays Daredevil, it's actually season 1. He has like the hallway fight scene. It was like the iconic.
Yes,
fight
the
scene.
hallway fight scene
Oh
is fantastic.
my god, you are just. I am exhausted watching that, because I mean, you can just you can feel every single punch he takes. He shows it, and he like is slower afterward, but he's just such a tough son of a bitch. Like, that's what it would look like for a guy to be able to beat up 11 people, like a normal person who's just like, I guess, has borderline superhero just abilities, you know. That's what it would look like. It would, and he has to go to the hospital afterwards, you know. Like, it's real ish.
Yes.
It's as real that it felt like it happened, versus, you know, the Avengers, which is like, oh, well, what's your power? I'm from another planet, so punching me and shooting me doesn't do anything. It's like, okay, like it's still fun, but it doesn't have that like, oh, I can imagine being in this situation and that first punch would have knocked me out, and it kind of knocked that guy out, but he got up because he's just tough. You know, like that's his superpower. He's just really tough. He's just really dedicated to not dying.
Yeah, and there is a certain level of, okay, I can believe this character is just an incredibly stubborn person with maybe some genetic predisposition to being able to take damage and like ignore pain to a certain level. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I totally get that. And there's some of that going on with John Wick too. He gets noticeably tired over time. There's a lot more hand-to-hand fighting in the third one than I remembered in the first two.
I know Kung Fu.
Yeah, a lot of like knife fights and punching and chains and stuff.
So
it actually got to the point where I was like, is he ever going to shoot anybody? There's so much hand-to-hand in the first like 20 minutes that I was like, I kind of miss the guns a little bit. Then they get on the guns and we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Anyway,
happens. Yep.
it does. So, yes. How did we end up here from Game of Thrones?
That's what I like about this podcast. It's my favorite part.
It goes places.
It's a little rambly. Yeah. So anyway, that's my big complaint about Game of Thrones, is that the plotting just felt like they weren't quite sure how to get to the places they needed to go. Nothing felt quite right. They put Bran on the stupid throne for stupid reasons because he has the best story, according to Tyrion. What the crap reason is that? Why does that mean he's going to be a good king? Also, his story is garbage. He got pushed out of a window when he was a kid, broke his back, got dragged north of the wall, became the Three-Eyed Raven, got dragged south of the wall, did jack all for a couple of years, and now he's king. No, that's not the best story. That's a garbage story. Everybody else who was sitting there had a better story than he did. Roar. So I don't know. If we'd been given a sense that like Bran is capable of seeing problems that are coming for Westeros and heading them off, like preventing wars because you sent a diplomat to this city at this time. You know what I mean? Then sure, it makes total sense. He's just this practical ruler who just seeks to make Westeros as peaceful as possible. And no, he's not a people person. And no, he can't schmooze and do things, but he solves problems in other ways with his magic Three-Eyed Raven powers. Give us a tiny bit of that, and I feel much better about it. Like, I read this, somebody did just a fan fiction take of Bran's rule, and it's that. It's basically like there were no major wars, there were some skirmishes here and there, but overall, when he was in charge, he was just able to kind of nudge things around to where there were no major famines and no major wars, and the people kind of lived a generally peaceful life overall, and it was a better experience by far than it had been under the previous few kings. I was like, okay, if that's what they gave us, I feel much better about that. But they didn't. They're just like, this boring dude is in charge now, bye, and sure, it'll turn out great.
Yeah, they're just like, we hope we're going to have some good spin-offs.
No, there are no spin-offs of Bran the Broken. I'm sorry. Not happening. Also, how mad are you at Tyrion if you get named Bran the Broken from before you're even crowned king? That's incredible. Come on, Tyrion. Throw him a bone. He's already paralyzed. You already can't have kids, by the way, Sansa. Thanks for making that public.
I love the memes about the Sansa. I think Bran would be the best king. His dick don't work, though. He's like, yeah, thanks a lot, Sansa,
cold.
you fucking bitch. Sorry, I'm being very inappropriate, guys. I'm wildly too much vulgarity. I apologize.
We'll put a not for kids stamp on this one.
Yeah.
All of the podcasts are labeled explicit in the iTunes client, by the way.
Oh, they are? Okay, that makes me feel slightly better.
So we're good then.
It's just, Falcon, you don't use very much vulgarity, do you, Mr. Paladin?
Not when I'm being recorded. No.
I'm going to splice in some swear words that I've got clips saved of, filed away.
Excellent.
Splice them in there.
Got a folder of Falcon swears. That's pretty good.
You just throw it
anyway.
in randomly where it doesn't make any sense.
Well, so look. Here's the thing. So, say you're Yara. I read this earlier today. Dany promised you independence if you helped her, and you did, right? And then Jon Stark kills her, and Jon's brother gets made king. And Jon's sister gets her independence in the north. Like, how mad are you if you're Yara at this point, that you're subject to a freaking Stark after he killed your queen and you don't have your independence, but he was happy to give it to his sister when she asked for it? So mad. So mad if you're Yara. Poor Iron Islands, man. They just can't catch a break.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. That was one of the things that I was like, okay, Yara's mad about something. I don't really quite get it.
Yeah, and that was it.
Oh, well.
She had just pledged her support to Dany. Dany made her promises, and now Dany got assassinated by a Stark. And now we're going to make a Stark king.
And it's interesting that Dany would make the promise to give the Iron Islands freedom, but Sansa couldn't make that deal with her in Winterfell for the North. How come? Why not?
Because they hate each other. The Starks and the Greyjoys have always been...
The Iron Islands are not the North. Sansa, as Queen of the North, has no ability to give them independence of anything.
No, but when Sansa and Dany were talking, and she was like, what about the North?
Yeah.
Right? It was, from what because I haven't seen that episode, it was like expected that Sansa was going to bend the knee for the North under Dany. But Dany was going to give the Iron Islands back to the Greyjoys?
Yeah, well, the Iron Islands don't provide nearly as much of the kingdom as the North does. The North is a huge piece of that. I mean, out of the 7 kingdoms, the North is probably the biggest one.
It's by far the biggest. Dorne, maybe, but the North is huge.
Dorne, but Dorne in the North, they're both kind of like that wasteland sort of large, but where it's like you...
Well, and that's the other thing, is Dorne was never, like... Dorne fought super hard for their independence for a very, very long time, and only recently became part of the 7 kingdoms. And they're going around the room, and then Prince of Dorne's like, sure, whatever. Like, well, we don't need our independence. We're not even going to mention that we want to be independent like we were for our entire existence.
So they were last, but they were still the original, the original Targaryen invasion. Dorne was part of that. So all 7 were united. Like Aegon, the Conqueror, whatever.
Yeah.
He got Dorne too.
No, I don't think he did. Not at first. Because the whole point is that Dorne is basically Afghanistan. You show up with your traditional armies, good luck conquering it. It's desert and mountains. All right, so yeah, that's it. Dorne was a sovereign kingdom before the invasion of Aegon the Conqueror. And weathered his attack to remain independent afterwards, the only one of the 7 kingdoms to retain its independence. It ended up joining the 7 kingdoms through peaceful marriage alliance 2 centuries later.
Wow.
Only 100 years before Robert's Rebellion.
And that's and it's through and that's right, and that's when they made like the pools and the groves and everything, all their orange farms or whatever, was because they did that for the bride, and she ended up being like an amazing, like Dorne fucking loved her. God, I need to stop. I'm sorry. I had a long day at work. And
Fine.
I just like complete sailors.
Do you need to blow up some steam?
No, I guess this is me blowing off steam, talking about Game of Thrones, getting really, really passionate about it and dropping F-bombs extremely unnecessarily.
All right.
See, but that's the reason that the Martell was in King's Landing. Was she married the Mad King because that's the alliance between Dorne and the rest of the kingdoms and King's Landing. And then when one of the Martells, Oberyn's sister,
because the Mad King also married his sister and had Dany and stuff from that. So I'm just wondering, how many people did he marry? Or
the Targaryens are messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that's the whole that's Oberyn Martell's storyline. Is his sister got massacred, got raped and murdered by the Mountain when Tywin invaded and burned King's Landing, and he is mad about that. So he came north to basically get revenge on the Lannisters for that. You never conquer Dorne. Dorne's the only nation to actually take down a dragon, at least before Big Crossbow. Yeah, they basically got lucky. At least the full-grown dragons in the stories were impervious to anything that anybody could throw at it. Basically, their scales were as thick as steel plates. So they're just ping, 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 ping. They're flying through hails of just like giant arrows and rocks and stuff. No big deal. But one arrow randomly out of the 18,000 that they shot at these dragons hit one through the eye into the brain and killed it. Like 1 in a million shot. And that's how you took down a dragon back then. And that's the only time that anyone before Dany actually killed a full-grown dragon. It was a lucky shot, and it was Dorne. Basically, they were just nomadic. Like, you'd show up to take a city, and everybody would be hiding in the mountains, and like you couldn't find them. It was very, very Afghanistan, very intentionally so.
Fair enough.
There is no central government to conquer, and then you're in charge. Everybody's just non-centralized.
Did you guys see this, by the way? I just thought we don't have to talk about it. It's a Husky thing, but did y'all see the Husky drama from yesterday?
No.
But I didn't. I don't know, man.
I did see it was the Muslim tweeting about how he's going to go on hiatus for 6 years, and then he'll come back and explain why he did it.
I did see that. I didn't realize what he was talking about. I was like, the Muslim, what are you on about?
I don't know everything about it, but so Husky, made a video, but I think it was kind of to address why he left. But instead of addressing why he left, and that's what these guys had a podcast and ended up becoming, Lag TV and Nova, Nova War. So the Lag TV thing.
Wait, how's Lag TV involved? I'm very confused.
So they made a podcast. They had, like a live podcast they were doing.
Maximus Black and Nova War have a podcast?
They did. Apparently they're sitting in the same room talking, and this came up, and they started talking about it, and now, like, if you watch the whole thing, it's not a negative Husky. It's like they don't like his video, and then they make fun of other people in the video, and they get a little rude. And so Husky clips like everything they said that was like pretty toxic or rude or whatever, just about how people are dressed and just like judging people based on the way they look and calling all these people fake and stereotypical. And they're being pretty rude, but like, and he's like, man, these guys are toxic. And Nova War, all of his tweets, he saves face really well. He's like, look, I'm not saying we're nice. I'm not saying that what we said doesn't make us assholes. But I don't know. It was an interesting, more like, I showed up to work and I had about an hour to kill before I could push something live. Just had to wait for certain people to get there. So it was a phenomenal read while so that tweet chain was pretty good. I don't know, but it's weird to see like Husky drama happen, especially with Lag TV. It's like these kind of old school guys coming back and just having a little bit of a flame war on Twitter was really kind of surreal.
Yeah, I like those guys. I like Lag TV quite a bit.
Yeah.
I've tried to talk to them about doing some cooperative stuff, but can't get a hold of them at all, so I'll keep trying. But I remember watching them back before I started my channel for sure. Like them quite a bit, but I don't know. YouTube drama has never really gotten my attention, no matter who's involved, really. Mm-hmm. I am interested to know what Husky said his reasons for leaving were. He's never really done that before.
And so they addressed that in the podcast, that it's like he didn't really talk about that very much. He did. It was pretty much like medical reasons. His voice was like getting destroyed. I think his doctor told him to stop. I don't know.
Sure.
I'm hearsay, whatever. But pretty much what he did was address like some haters that are out there, and that was like the point of it, was to address the haters. And what they did is like picked all like the really poorly written, like stupid things that like were like, versus the people who actually provided like genuine, hey, like you didn't have to do this stuff, like you take away content that you gave to us, and we understand it's your channel. I don't really want to get into all this, but like it was like that was their criticism, was like you're addressing the wrong stuff. And that was not what Husky pointed out. He only pointed out the fact that people were making fun of like his haircut, which boy, did they make fun of his haircut. They absolutely tore into him about it.
Sounds about right for them.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
but have you seen it?
No, but I got both sides of it, because what they said was like really, it was hard, it was cruel, it was just I'm not going to say ignorant. It was definitely over the line. It was unnecessary. But they also complimented him a lot and praised him. And so like to only include, I understand why they're upset, is because like, why didn't you include like any, like you just filtered out the absolute worst things we said without any of the contextual how we got there, because how they got there it really did not make Husky look bad. It was just a criticism of the way that he went about doing some things, which was objective criticism. And then they also, after they were done with that, they were like, yeah, but how about his stupid haircut? What a hipster. I bet he drinks green smoothies.
Fair enough.
Good times. Good times on the YouTube dramas. There have been a bunch of that recently. I really try not to pay attention to at all.
Yeah. It's a good thing.
Ugh. I don't know. It never ends, and it doesn't have any effect on me, and I just don't generally care. And I hope with all of my heart I never get dragged into any of it. And so far I've done a great job just by being small, I think. So good job staying small.
Yeah, you're so tiny.
Yes, comparatively.
So whenever I tell people on my team, like we get new members and stuff, and I was just in voice chat with some guys laddering, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go do a podcast. And they're like, oh, who are you doing a podcast with? And I was like, Falcon Paladin. And they're like, oh my God, you're doing a podcast with Falcon Paladin? And I'm like, and then other people are like, oh, humble brag Duttles. And I'm like, I forget that like my other team isn't also part of this community. It's like, this guy is super cool. Like he talks to anybody who wants to talk to him. It's not, Yeah, it's cool that I'm doing it, but it's not like honestly, all you have to do is join his Discord and be like, "What's up, Falcon Paladin?" And Falcon Paladin's gonna be like, "Hey, man, how are you today?" Like it's not.
And honestly, if some rando was like, "I want to be on your podcast," I'll be like, "Okay."
Yeah, right, like we'll try you out. We do record it, and we might just scrap everything you say and edit all of it out. But we'll talk.
Somicron might do some filtering, but I probably won't.
Right.
I mean, Falcon, if you want to invite anyone to your podcast, you go right ahead. If you want to invite people to my podcast, that's a whole other story.
Entirely fair. I spoke
and
too
I
soon
do,
and
I
out of
apologize
place.
that I did not include that it was whenever I spoke to my team that it was not Somicron's podcast, because it is, and that makes me a douche. I'm sorry.
It's fine. I do find it amusing that they haven't quite realized there's no velvet rope around him yet.
Yeah, definitely not. I'm fully capable of walking into a 7-Eleven and having nobody recognize me. It's kind of nice.
I do it all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's good.
same.
It's a good
Same.
life skill.
But you also, for a long time, you didn't do. I mean, I've covered this like twice with you already. But I mean, you were not the person to put your face on your stuff. It's all
Correct.
voiceover.
Yep. I
so-
still have people that are like, "When's your face reveal, Falcon?" And I'm like, "Are you serious?"
Right.
All right, fine. I get it. You don't know that Twitch exists. That's
It's on
cool.
Twitch 3 times a week at least.
Yeah.
Do you? So you haven't gone to a WCS event, have you? Or
Nope.
like any StarCraft event?
Nope.
God, like, do you think people would recognize you?
Yeah, probably.
Like, it would be pretty cool.
Maybe.
People
know.
would, maybe not a lot of
Some.
people. And then once people found out, hey, because like whenever I met Nice Username, it
Yeah.
wasn't because I saw Nice Username and saw, oh, hey, that's Nice Username. It was because somebody
Right.
came up to me and said, hey, that guy over there, that's Nice Username. And I was like, oh my god, like, and of course I went and approached him and talked to him, and he was super cool. But there's other people who, like obviously Harston walked in the room, and I was like, holy crap, you're 6'5",
Yes. Very true.
But I think I would be excited just to hear your story of going to one of these events and what you thought of it and everything. And you as well, Summer. I don't know how often they do. I know there are StarCraft events in Australia. I just don't think that obviously there's not WCS in Australia, and that sucks.
Yeah.
But
No, there's a lot of like smaller group things. The problem is they're often in another city, and it's like I don't think I can get out there in like 2 weeks' notice and book a flight and a hotel.
mm-hmm.
And it's like I'd go there, and I'm not very familiar with a lot of the people in the Australian smaller scenes.
Yeah.
It's like I've heard of some of the big pro players. I know Pig, Maynard, Mooglade, Zeph, those kind of people. But I go out there, and it's like, well, all right, now I'm just watching StarCraft with strangers.
Right.
And it can be fun. I'm just not a very sociable person unless I like already know someone there.
Right.
That would really help.
I could introduce you to 2 people that would be there.
Who?
Ice and Lunith.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, look, it's in my plans to eventually go to a proper WCS event.
Yeah, hopefully you can make it to Ukraine, because apparently they're all just going to be there from now on.
yeah, that was disappointing. I was really hoping there'd be like a DreamHack or something like in Austin that I could go to.
Oh my god, I would be there. I would have been there. We would have met. We would have hung out. We would have had fun.
That was my hope, but apparently not.
Austin's my best bet too, for sure. So yeah.
And it was either that or BlizzCon, and then BlizzCon tickets went on sale and were sold out in like 4 seconds.
I never know. I find out like the next day. People are like, hey, does anybody want BlizzCon tickets? Like, I have extra. And I'm like, oh my god, they're already sold out. And like, yeah, and I already sold mine. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And I always
I don't
think
know
there's
how they
always
fix
next
that.
year. How much are BlizzCon tickets? Like,
Infinite,
not
'cause
resell.
You can't get them.
How much were BlizzCon tickets? Not are.
Yeah. That's the thing. If you can't get them, they might as well be all the money.
$200?
And that's really not
Really?
outrageous, in my opinion.
That's more
Well,
than I
I-
expected.
There are 3 options this year: the BlizzCon Pass, $230 USD; the BlizzCon Portal Pass, $550; or the BlizzCon Benefit Dinner Pass, $750. In 2018, it cost $200, so it's $230 this year,
Dang.
which That's US, which would be like 350, 375 for Australian. And it goes up for me. 363. And then I need flights, hotels. It's not cheap flights either. It's a lot of money to go to. I should just become a caster, and then Blizzard will pay me to fly out to BlizzCon and cast it. That's how that works, right?
Yeah, that's how I get out there every year. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll just become a caster.
Yep.
WCS caster. Yeah, I'll just do that.
Make me sad. Actually, I think BlizzCon is closer than Austin for me. So
It would be, but it's also the difference between $60 for the entire thing.
yeah.
Then you get a hotel that's going to cost you, like $80 a night because it's Texas. Most Austin's maybe $100 a night, but if you want to be close. But at the same time, then you can also find people who you'd be okay rooming with. That's what we would have done. I have my team. We would get like 8 guys in a room because we don't care.
It's a lot of guys.
Yeah, 8 is too many. That's what they like. I stayed with my wife last year, that was fun. But we actually just went to Arlington somewhat recently. It was 4 guys total, including myself, and so there was. I brought a queen size like blow up mattress, and then there were 2 brothers, and they slept in the same bed because it was like big queen beds. And then the reason why I didn't want to sleep in the same bed as another guy, because that would be ridiculous. It was a tiny room. He was like 18, 19. I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I've never met this guy before. I'm not. So I brought my own bed. And honestly, it was so not weird. You think that would be weird because a bunch of like I met the brothers one time in Austin. You think it would be weird that we'd stay together, but like it's really the fact that we're all there for StarCraft. We're gonna play in a tournament the next day. It was actually a lot of fun. But like that's really not that wild of an idea, and we paid like $20 a person, for the whole trip.
Oh wow.
Well, maybe like I think it was like $30 to do the tournament or something like that. I spent less than $100, not including gas, to get there and back. To be there, like including my meals and everything, it was like $120 maybe, tops.
It's not bad.
Yeah, for a trip of just going out and hanging out with some friends and playing StarCraft and like spending an entire 2 days straight just not working and doing typical life stuff. That was a lot of fun.
Does sound cool. I need to set up one of those things in the near future. I need to plan something out. You've motivated me.
I hope so. And I hope I can go to that same thing and meet you and be like, I'm Duttles. And you'll be like, I kind of know. We've seen each other. And I'm like, no, but it's me, Duttles, really. I'm the real one.
Come experience firsthand how sweaty my hands get when I'm in public places.
It's like, I bet you didn't think I was this short, which is everybody who meets me, they're like, wow, you're short. And I'm like, really not. Like, I just have a big personality on the internet is all. It's not that I'm short.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'6". I'm short.
5'6" in centimeters.
I forgot. I'm 5'6" in American. I'm small average, like, and people who don't know me already who don't have an expectation, they don't think I'm short, like when somebody meets me in real life, they're not like, oh, hey, short guy, but like it's whenever they meet me and they already know me, they're like, you're shorter than I expected, is what I get.
But you're not that short.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not
totally
self-conscious about it short. It's just known that I'm short.
You're no Peter Dinklage.
Not quite, no.
I totally imagined you were 6'4". So yeah, this is a bit shocking to me.
Did you really?
No.
Oh.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of the last time I imagined how tall anybody is, and I just don't bother. Like, it's not something that I even think about.
5'10".
Oh, you're guessing?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I am 5'11" and a half.
That 5'10" is really close.
I'm almost 6, but I'm not 6, and I'll never be 6, and I've come to terms with it, I think.
Yeah, right. I came to terms with never hitting that 5'7" barrier a long time ago.
That's funny.
Samacron, you are 5'9".
Well, here's the thing. I need to do this in reverse before I can tell you what I am.
One sec. Wait, no. You're 175 centimeters?
Did you say 175?
Yeah,
you did.
A little larger than that.
178.
A little larger than that.
Oh, gee, are you really tall?
I think the last time I measured I'm at 182.
Oh, okay, that's actually not.
Which is
Okay, I forget.
5'9".
Oh, so yeah, I said 5'9". That's still 5'9". 178 to 182. It's all they're both 5'9".
Hold on. How are you on Reddit, Somicron, and you don't understand freedom units yet? Nobody talks in like meters and stuff over there.
Lots of people do. Yeah.
Okay, I guess maybe the subreddits that I'm on, no.
I mean, I don't know.
All right.
Maybe I
fair
don't
enough.
use Reddit as much as you think I do.
Maybe
I don't know.
that's entirely possible. That's the thing. Is like popular culture is so American that even though the metric system is better, I just kind of feel like it's never going to be the universal American standard because we've infected so many people with it.
Right.
I want that engraved in your tombstone. The metric system is better.
Anybody
It is
who says
better.
it isn't is ridiculous.
Yeah,
Of course
is
it's
better.
better.
I've spent a lot of time on the internet. You might be the first two Americans I've ever heard admit it.
Well, that's because Americans are prideful.
Admit it to somebody who isn't already also American. I promise you, every American who speaks, any American who learns a metric system, they're like, wait, it's all just based around 10. You know, like it's like, wait, that's super easy. Like I don't have to memorize anything. You know, and they're like, yeah. So anyway, 12 inches is a foot, 3 feet's a yard, and then beyond that, I don't even know. It's just getting into things that I don't even know how many feet are in a mile because it's just not. It's ridiculous. How many feet are in a mile? Look, we're googling it. How many meters in a kilometer, Somicron?
Kilometer.
Kilometer. That'd be 1,000.
Kilometer.
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 Kilometer. Yeah, it's 1,000, right? Because that makes sense. Because that's an obvious metric to use.
Yeah, and the answer is 1,760 yards to a mile.
Yards. How about feet? We'll just multiply that by 3.
Yeah, I suppose.
See, and which is super easy. You can just do that right in your head. No.
I sure can.
Yeah, I'm definitely not using the calculator right now.
5,280.
Yeah, that's not even like ringing a bell of like that's the right number.
I will defend Fahrenheit though. Fahrenheit is better than Celsius.
Fahrenheit's more precise.
Yeah, that's why. It's better.
It is.
Better.
It's not more precise. You know why? Because we have decimal points. You can just make it more precise.
Right, but the
No,
integer,
There's no such thing as more precise.
Okay, I'm sorry.
with
I'm
the
sorry.
measurement.
The integer
That's not
value
what
of
he's-
Fahrenheit is more precise than the integer value of Celsius.
It is.
All right. Well, if you're gonna use the words integer, like stuff that I don't know, that's fine.
He's just saying that the Fahrenheit temperature scale covers a wider range of like human experience temperatures than Celsius does.
Okay, that's a perfectly valid argument, except
Okay.
I don't put any value in it, so I don't think it's legitimate.
Oh.
Right? I don't think human experience is at all worthy of anything when it comes to
Wow.
your to
Robot.
measuring temperature.
Human
I don't think it
experience
matters.
invalid.
He's like, yeah,
Does
I
not
actually prefer
compute.
Kelvin.
Look, however innovation measures his core temperatures, that's how I think we...
You think he'd think where the mods would ban you from his Twitch if you ask him that question? Enough innovation robot jokes out.
What I love when people people are like, hey, what's up, innovation? I was just hoping I could semicolon select star from build _ orders dash.
I don't know that Twitch sanitizes their inputs. That might do some weird stuff.
Yeah, like SQL injecting innovation's Twitch chat, you know? Like, hey, I was
It would
hoping I
be
could get your-
so
hoping I could
appropriate.
pick your brain about this semicolon. You know, like just fucking. Oh man.
I've seen places that the one that always sticks out is like a Kickstarter was collecting like names and shipping addresses for some rewards, and someone had put out their name as like John semicolon drop table or whatever.
Yep.
And
Little Bobby
People
tables.
are just like the company was just tweeting out like, well, whoever thought that was funny, well done.
you did it. You dropped everything.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
There it is. There's little Bobby tables. That is an old XK CD, man. Wish there were date stamps on these so I could tell exactly how old it was, but it does not help you with that at all. But it's the 327th XK CD, so. And we're on
A lot.
2,152.
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah,
really name
this is
your
one of my
son
favorites.
Robert? Robert single quote in
Bro.
parentheses, like, because it's a select star from where in, you know, like, oh man, this is so nerdy. How many people actually get this joke?
That's the thing. XKC doesn't care. Like, if it's funny, it's funny. If you don't get it, figure it out. There's a forum dedicated to like helping people with this stuff, but
Oh yes, little
the
Bobby
author
tables.
doesn't care. And I hope you've learned to sanitize your database inputs.
That's
It's a
so
real
good.
thing, man. We have trouble with that at work sometimes. Like in JSON /n is new line. And we have that sanitized at 3 of the 4 levels it needs to be sanitized at, but it wasn't sanitized on the 4th one, so it broke everything.
Oh,
It was
man.
great. Just a /n in somebody's password. That's all it took to like break things.
And someone's password.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Good
I
time.
can see how that could be an issue.
But what's also great about this is that their password was stored in plain text in the database.
Not stored, but processed and decrypted, yes. Not stored, but
Okay.
decrypted. Yeah.
But
We'll
how
hang
that
on to
still
it.
hits the SQL level?
Yep.
How?
I don't know. It's not my stuff. I'd have to ask one of the devs.
They deserved it.
Yeah, no, they did. And they were made fun of immensely for it, and they knew. They accepted it. They accepted their mocking. Anyway, on that note, on sanitizing our SQL database inputs, I think we might be at time here, ladies and gentlemen.
Just the time. Yeah, pretty
Gentlemen.
much.
Gentlemen.
I can keep going for 3 more hours. I don't know about you guys. No, I have to go to bed. Like this
Yes.
is already.
And there is a length of podcast where certain people are like, I'm not listening to that. That's 3.5 hours long. Obviously, the hardcore history guy doesn't have that problem, but a lot of other people do.
There's also a length of podcast so long that my website says, no, you can't host that here.
Is there? Have we hit that?
We have not.
How do you know?
Because I know what that length is.
Did they tell you?
They tell me in megabytes, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was very nice of them. Not like make you try and then fail and then be like, by the way, this is all we can
no,
do.
That's how I figured it out. I was putting up something and it's like, this is too long. And I'm like, oh, how can I make it not long? And then I worked out how.
Ah,
Yeah.
well
so
done. Well solved.
Solve the problem.
Solved,
Solve the
computer guy.
problem. Yeah.
Solve the problem. Problem solved. All right, cool. Well, that's going to be it. We'll have Duttles back for those of you who are like, I really was enjoying this. I wish it was 3 hours. Look, we'll give you wanting more, okay? We're going to leave you
All
wanting
one
more. So
person.
the next time Duttles comes in, you're like, yes, a Duttles pod. It'll happen. If you want more Duttles, tweet at us and tell us. Or maybe talk to us on the Discord. Whatever. Either way. I think that's going to be it from us. Thanks for hanging out with us, Duttles. Do you have anything you'd like to plug real quick?
No, I mean, Dank Shrine, I hopefully tomorrow I might be doing, actually, I guess, yeah, that's tomorrow. Holy shit. Holy bejesus, I mean, sorry, guys.
I mean, this isn't coming out for like a week, so...
Yeah, right. So by the time
Okay.
this is out, hopefully you will be able to see, I might be interviewing a nice username.
Nice.
Yeah, very nice. Nice username.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. So Dank Shrine, check it out on the interwebs. Duttles is a cool guy. Stuff he does is cool. Also, you can, as always, check out the merchandise store that we have for the podcast and for the channel. There's a Patreon you can subscribe to as well for the pod. And until next time, as always, thanks for hanging out with us, and you take care of yourself.
I feel like we talked about quite a bit.